Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm here today in my garden. It's a really beautiful day. I've had a really nice weekend. The weather's definitely improving. I mean, it seems like spring is here to stay now. That's what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to start my series on, I think I'm going to call it underrated flowers or magical flowers or something like that. Um, I don't know. Um, But I like underrated flowers. And the first flower I want to talk about today are roses. You may say, why roses? Roses aren't underrated. Everybody loves roses. They're so, you know, commonly sort of, they're so um, iconographic. Iconic. They're so iconic. And I think that's why I want to talk about them because there's something so ubiquitous about roses that makes you kind of, I don't know, even overlook their beauty because it's like, they're just kind of common in a way, So you may overlook some of the magic of roses if you don't take your time to really appreciate the characteristics of the rose, especially the different species, the different varieties. And that's sort of what I want to talk about today. So here's my rose bush right here. You see all those buds on there? They're starting to open up. And, this is one variety of rose that does really well. I'm pretty sure this is a Bermuda rose. So we have a whole variety of roses here in Bermuda that were sort of, the seeds were brought over, I think, by settlers from England or wherever. And this strain of roses kind of like they adapted to our climate and to the soil. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. I feel like there's a real assumption that comes with roses, like, oh, it's very like a European flower. You just have this picture of like the English rose, right? But there's such a beautiful variety to roses, and and they're so resilient. As a species of flowers, they can kind of grow anywhere. Like, here I am in a subtropical climate, and you'd be surprised how many different varieties of roses that we have here, which are very specific in terms of their characteristics to Bermuda. Now, I also visited like the desert in America, New Mexico, right? And it's very, very hot, very, very dry over there. And they have the most beautiful roses, like these roses, just huge red velvety leaves, like amazing. Also, when I was in England, I mean, this is well known. In England, they have like the most amazing roses. That's because the climate is so perfect for roses there. All the rain, they really, the roses that are there. But when I was there in university, I was just absolutely, I lived in a pretty suburban area. It was like just outside the city, and I used to absolutely love walking to my student halls from the university and walking past these absolutely gorgeous gardens and beautiful, like the most amazing roses. But the most amazing roses, all roses are amazing. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, See, this is like a beautiful red, like a reddish pink. And these roses, they amaze me every year because they do so well. I think that we started with just like a little shoot, a little cutting, and planted it here. And it's growing into this really strong bush that's like climbing up this hedge. It's amazing. It's doing so well. Here are some other roses in my garden. Now, they're not blooming at the moment, but this is a hybrid. So I bought this You know, these are one of those ones that you can, I don't know what the name brand is, but it's kind of like a bread rose. It's a hybrid rose. I purchased it at the gardening shop, and my dad kind of told me not to. He was suggesting against it because it's not sort of like native to Bermuda. When it blossoms, it's going to blossom like a beautiful lavender color. I'm trying to focus. Big blooms, beautiful lavender color. And anyway, he kind of encouraged me against it because he said that these roses only blossom for a couple years and then they kind of go dormant. But I've had a lot of success with these roses so far, and they've been in, even though they've been in the pot. Sorry, this is another one. Yeah, maybe this one could use some more soil, but but it's still doing all right, you know. It's still doing all right. I'm pretty sure I'll get a few blooms out of it this year. So we're gonna take a quick walk around the other side to my dad's side of the house, or my parents' house. As you guys know, I rent my parents' apartment. They've got a apartment on the side of their house. This is the main house. So we've got some beautiful roses here. This one is a pink, like a really bright pink. And this is the branch. Look how sturdy and strong it is. And this variety here, these roses, again are Bermuda roses. They look like tie-dye. I love them. I love them so much. Shit. That's another one, another rose bush. Hey, I'm just taking some pictures of the roses, Daddy's roses. It's my sister over there. So, those are some of the roses around my house. This tree is not really in bloom right now. I mean, there's a couple blooms, but when there's a lot of them, looks like my dad's cut it back actually. When there's a lot of them, it's absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to talk a little bit quickly. I'm not saying I'm going to do that for all these videos, but about sort of like the symbolism of the rose. Now, we know, I mean, I haven't done too much research in terms of like magical correspondences, right? But, it's well known that they are a symbolic for love and beauty, and, that they're associated with Venus, so those Venusian qualities. But I think there's something. So because they're associated with Venus, you would think that they have like a passive energy, but I think that is mistaken, especially the brighter colors. So I definitely think they could be a potent ingredient if you were doing some sort of intentions around activating something, Anyway, perhaps I'm getting caught up in my thoughts, but I wanted to show some cards real quick. So obviously we know from I really enjoyed working with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. It was like a year ago I started working with it around springtime, and I saw these beautiful correspondences. So here you got, oh sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. So you see the roses and the lilies surrounding the magician. So I pulled this around springtime, and those lilies, they're Easter lilies, and they're very well known in Bermuda as well. Like every year, we used to grow Easter lilies. Actually, we used to have like that was one of our items for export. We used to grow Easter lilies every year, and we actually used to send them to the Queen. Sorry, Kenzie, and send them to the U.S. and stuff like that. Ship them away for sale, and we used to sell tobacco. But I'm saying this to say that they blossom every time around this year, every year around this time for Easter. And so when I pulled this card one spring, it was a beautiful reminder that I have all the resources at hand, that creative potential of spring and that spring energy, and really channeling that. Roses are a real symbol of that. And, our roses do well into summer. Around summertime, that's when it just gets kind of too hot for everything around August. Late July, August. But for the spring, you can see a real beautiful show of roses. You also see the roses here on her robe around her waist, and the strength card, which is another reason I always love this card, right? And she's got a crown of roses on her head. So again, to me, it's almost got like a fire association, even though it's the rose has got a correspondence as Venus. This is one of my favorite strength cards ever. To be honest, I think this is why I bought the deck. This is the Lioness Oracle Tarot, right? And here you have the lioness crouching in the bed of roses, and she's like restraining herself from pouncing, and yeah, symbols, roses are a symbol of strength and endurance. And like I said, this is how I see them when I look at these Bermuda roses, which really sustain our heat and our wind, our tropical winds. And it's amazing when I look at and compare all these varieties of roses around the world that adapt to their location. Here in the strength card from the Moonchild Tarot, there's also roses in the corners, which is interesting. I didn't actually notice that. Well, I didn't really pay attention to that until looking at my cards for rose symbolism. There's also that, and here as well in the Eight of Pentacles, you can see roses as well as the Two of Wands. So again, active energy, active potential, strength, that is associated with roses. That really necessary balance of soft but and soft and delicate and vulnerable, but with boundaries, with firm fixed boundaries. Those thorns, strong protection. This is my Tantric Dakini Oracle. There's a card that says the Rose Garden. And then obviously there's the association with Mother Mary. So, and this is why I love my Mother Mary Oracle. There is a number of beautiful cards here. I mean, most of them, there's a lot of roses throughout the whole deck. But these are some of my favorites. Our Lady of Passion. So yeah, I guess I see it kind of like the strength of the feminine, or at least like balancing the receptive and the passive. I don't know. Our Lady of Creative Choice. This is a great deck to work with if you love roses and rose energy. Um, yeah, definitely. Our Lady of the Sacred Sun. This is so um, relevant to today. To today, it's Palm Sunday. Our Lady of Divine Presence. Our Lady of Sweet Rest. Look, roses and lilies. So this is kind of like nod to the magician again, right? Our Lady of Answered Prayers. Our Lady of Growth Assured. Our Lady who sends the angels. So, yeah, these are just some thoughts I had on roses. And, I definitely don't think people should make any assumptions about roses. That is what is so magical and so interesting about them, and why I feel like even though they're kind of well known and iconic, they're also underrated. They're also just extremely underrated. And if you were planting, like, I always had a dream to actually just have like a big house and have a rose garden, where I collect like a whole bunch of different varieties of roses. I really want a tray, like a vine, a rose vine, that I can grow up, like a trellis like this on my house, with like nice little clusters of rose buds. I think they call them, they have one called like a Portuguese rambler, and it's like that. I love collecting different varieties of roses. They amaze me. They're a plant that amazes me. Really, if you get into gardening, um, and are able to have some plants outside, I definitely recommend having a rose in your collection, because you can learn a lot from it. And also, there's a lot of potency and magic just in the buds and the petals. I often collect the petals and I just put them in like little bottles. I enjoy the dried petals, and I just kind of keep them on my altar, like almost as like an offering to the Divine Mother. But also, sometimes I'll make like oils with them. I'll just put them in a bottle with some vitamin E oil or whatever, jojoba vitamin E oil mix or something like that. Put some essential oil rose drops and the petals, and use that as like a face, for my face and body. There's a lot of benefits for rose, for of in roses, for their aromatherapeutic benefits. Yeah, I think that's the word. I'm a little tongue tied today. Yeah, but there's a lot of benefits for beauty, um, and beyond. So, let me know what you think. What is your relationship with roses? And thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.